What's going on, Duke fans? That was listen. Let's start the positives, okay? Because I feel like I've been a little negative the past few times. Our defense is just ridiculous. It is up there with the Houstons and Iowa States and Virginias of old. I was looking at some stats before we hopped on here. That is the fourth time in 11 games that we've held the opponent to under 50 points. Duke winning this game 68-47 over George Mason in what was a game that at times there was some long scoring droughts for both teams. Both teams certainly struggled to score, but at the end of the day, Duke was able to win by 21 points, and really, as a fan, that's all that matters.
Scoring droughts, like wandering in the desert looking for water. I mean, it was bad at times, but I want to give a quick shout out to the MasonHoops.com guy that was able to say optimistically it's a 4 or 5 point game. Pessimistically, we lose by 50. Realistically, it's an 18 to 20 point game. And I think that guy really nailed it. But you have one other stat that you were saying with regard to the betting line.
Well, the betting line for this game was at 19 or 19 and a half points, maybe 20 points, depending on where you got it at. And I mean, from that standpoint, there is no way I thought Duke was going to cover for the first 18 minutes of this game, 17 minutes of this game, and somehow they were able to do so. Um, it was a game, I guess, still trying to be positive here, where Duke's defense was just frustrating would be the word I would use. And the reason I use that word is up and down the George Mason team. Most notably, Mr. Haynes, who was very emotional at several points throughout this game. But there were several other players, from O'Connor to the coaching staff to Billups, who were very frustrated with the officials and the way the game was being played. And I feel like more of that was because they just couldn't hit a shot. And
Yeah.
that just starts to build up. And we've seen that with opposing big men. Granted, Mr. Haynes had a good game, especially the last 10 minutes or so of this game. But we've seen that with opposing players against Duke this season. Obviously, most notably Hunter Dickinson, who became so frustrated he got himself ejected. And I just think this Duke defense, it to me, you give a lot of credit to Tyrese Proctor and the guards who do a good job of pressuring and making things uncomfortable. But this defense, to me, it starts with the big man tandem of Malawach and Malik Brown, who just make things in different ways, just make things really difficult for the opposing team. And especially when Malik Brown comes into the game, I find myself laughing and just thinking like, man, just what a nightmare. His arms are everywhere. He's so smart. He's just, who would have thought, I thought he could be a good player for Duke, but I had no idea the level of impact he would have on this Duke team defensively.
Well, and since when are they flashing the statistics for a player on deflections? I mean, we've been talking about that, but now it's getting up there and it's being put across the screen. He's averaging 7.8 deflections per game. And I've never seen, I mean, I guess they keep that stat, but he is everywhere. He is just everywhere. And you never see him lose his cool, ever. He is just like, I'm out here, I'm doing my thing, I'm completely disrupting the other team and wreaking havoc.
He has the emotions of like a Kawhi. Like his face is always just like very very stoic. You couldn't tell if he just turned the ball over or dunked it. He has the same reaction, which is I think another one of the reasons I just love like Malik Brown. He's turning into one of my favorite players. fingers crossed, maybe he could stick around for his senior season. But for sticking on the here and now, the other thing I will say about this Duke defense is that outside of the Seattle game, and I would say the second half today, they started to foul a little bit more, but it wasn't too bad. Even though they do a really good job and they're physical, they don't foul a ton. And that's a good sign of a good defense that is able to just kind of create havoc, but also, not put the other team in the bonus too soon and allow them to just get free points from the free throw line, which can, work against you.
I wish I had a pair of sneakers because all of what you just said is about footwork. It's about moving your feet on defense. And they are so active. Yes, their arms and their hands and everything are ready, but that only can happen if you're moving your feet consistently and beating the opponent to the spot. And they are a joy to watch on defense.
Yeah, and
but wait.
Go ahead.
All right. I want to go back to the first segment. So I had 3 keys to the game with a fourth as an asterisk.
Really quickly, before you say that, on the defense, I want to give credit to Con Knipple, who's not hitting his shots right now, but to your point, he does do a really good job of moving his feet and beating the offensive player to the spot. Even though he may not be the most athletic guy, he's really smart and he knows where they're trying to go. And so I think that's a lot of the reason why Coach Shire continues to play him the amount of minutes he does. Go ahead with your keys of the game.
Well, so I had 3 things. So one was Malik Brown going to play. That got pretty much settled after the first round of substitutions. He was in the game. And boy, as we've just spoken about, his presence was absolutely felt. The second thing, which was the most important to me, was were we going to find ourselves in a hole in the first segment? And it was first segment was 8-2, I believe.
Yes.
8-2 was the first segment. We were leading. So, okay. First segment went well. Malik was in the game. The third one was who had the hot hand. And we debated, in the preview for this, would Flag, I said how quiet he was the last game. Cooper Flag was anything but quiet in terms of trying to go to the basket. He wasn't getting the rolls. He wasn't getting his shot to go in. But there was no question that he was going to. What did he finish shooting, Jack?
So he was 7 of 20 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, 8 for 8 from the free throw line. So he finished with 24 points after he couldn't have had more than 6 or at most 8 at the half.
So he had 24 points and how many rebounds?
He had 9 rebounds. I'm going to see if I can get the stats up right here. Keep going.
Okay, so he was just shy of, the 24 and 10, which is an interesting statistic. But if you're at 9 versus 10, I really don't know what the difference is, other than people like to make a big deal out of it. There was no question he came into tonight's game wanting to assert himself. There were so many shots that rolled off the rim until the second half spurt when it all went in. There was 1 or 2 shots that could have come out, but they went in. And he took them on the same first segment in the second half. I think you noted it when we were texting to each other. Same first segment of the second half. And again, it got to 40-20. And I thought we were just going to take off from there. And instead, the next thing we knew, it was 40-28. And Duke went on a 5-minute drought. Boy, I think you could get from Egypt to Syria with that much of a drought.
Okay. But But quickly, so you started to go into the stats. I got them up here on the screen, so everyone besides you, I guess, can see them. And with that being said, the thing that's most notable jumps out to me. Con Knipple, I said before, Coach Shire continues to play him a high number of minutes, but with that being said, the trend has not been Con Knipple's friend with the minutes as of late, and I would say it kind of you go back to the Kansas game, and that was kind of like the high water mark. Today, Con Knipple, 24 minutes. He had
Wow.
in the beginning of this season, Con Knipple was right up there with Cooper Flagg and Proctor as 35, 38 minutes in that group, right? It's been slowly kind of petering off. We'll see. I think the real indicator is going to be this Georgia Tech game this coming Saturday as to where Coach Shire views Con Knipple in the pecking order. But there's only 3 guys who played over 30 minutes today. And I'm sure you could guess the first 2. Cooper Flagg, 35 minutes. Tyrese Proctor, 32 minutes. Now, everyone else knows the answer to this question, but you don't, so that's what makes it fun. So, who was the third Blue Devil with over 30 minutes in this game?
Well, I got to believe that Malik Brown and Mal split some time there, so neither one are going to make it to 30 minutes.
Correct.
Okay. And you've sort of led me down a path to think it would be Proctor, so I'm not going to guess Proctor.
Well, I already he's one of the 3. I already excluded him. Or included
Proctor,
him, rather.
Okay.
Proctor and Flagg are 2. Who's the third?
Wow.
No guesses?
Not even a guess.
I'm surprised you couldn't get this one. Sion James, 31 minutes. Now, there's a little bit of an asterisk. I'm trying to draw it on the screen here. And the asterisk is that I'm not exactly sure what happened, but if you remember, there was kind of like a weird play where Caleb Foster had the ball in a fast break, and then he tried to stop, but kind of fell down, and then Malik Brown got the ball, ended up with a Isaiah Evans 3, actually. But after that, he was on the sideline, he was on the bench with your old friend Jose, and they were having some sort of a conversation. So I think that has something to do with it, the fact that Foster only played 12 minutes in this game. I know he didn't play great, but he's still typically more in the 15 to 18 range. Evans, 15 minutes. As you said, Malik Brown and Malawach split the minutes, but notably, Malawach, 24, Brown, 16. And then Mason Gillis only had 11 minutes, which is notable to me because it felt like he had a lot of them in the first half, and so he played less in the second half. But Isaiah Evans continues. Three in the second half.
3 in the second half. And what I think that goes to my third point of the game going into it was who would have the hot hand and who would provide the streak. And K2 just isn't doing it offensively for them. His minutes on the court, he does a lot of other things. His defense has been good. He is in the offensive flow, but he just can't finish a shot. I mean, I think at one point he was 0 for 4 from 3-point range, and those were 3 of the 4 were pretty much uncontested. He's just not comfortable shooting the 3 the way he was in the beginning of the season. So by bringing Evans in and giving him the chance, how many minutes did Evans get? What'd you say? 16?
15.
15 and 9 points. The microwave is just unbelievable. He's just, I mean, the after he hit the 3, did you see where he put up the 4th?
Heat check. But the thing with Evans is right now, who do you have confidence shooting the three? Isaiah Evans, Proctor, and then
tonight you would have allowed Coop to shoot. He did. His free throws have looked very smooth. Mal got us a little nervous from the free throw line. He missed his first two, and then 6 for 6.
Well, I was gonna say to that point, obviously, as you said, Mal missed his first two. He finished, as you said, he ended up at 6 for 8. Cooper was 8 for 8. Duke as a team in the first half was 3 for 6. They finished 17 of 21.
That's my Dukies. That's a Duke team.
They didn't shoot well from anywhere except for the free throw line, and we'll take it. We'll take it.
Look, they're at home, and they're home for the holidays. We're going to be on the road for our next game, but that's what I like. That's a true characteristic of a Duke team when they're playing. That has to be one of the components that if you're not going to shoot well from the field, the other team's going to foul you. You're going to get to the charity stripe. You have got to bury those shots. And the nights when they're shooting like 60% from the free throw, it's a shame. They're called free throws for a reason. There's nobody in front of you, and especially at home. Although I did notice the crazies, they kind of they do jump around a lot, even for our guys.
Well, I think it was noted on the broadcast, there aren't too many students still around because it's just after finals. And I think that was notable with the energy of the crazies today, so give them a pass. They weren't all there.
No, I wasn't. Wait, slightly different point. I agree that we give them a pass because we've been there Christmas time, and that's how we could get tickets, was because the student body really isn't there in force. I was just noting that when we were shooting, the fans, it's not like you know how they would do like arms up and freeze, and then if they hit, they go whoop. They were like, yeah, let's go. Yeah. So this was the substitute crazies. They didn't know how to do it.
They weren't as coordinated. One quick final stat here before we move on into our Olympic segment is just a fun one for me. Isaiah Evans was our second leading scorer. Cooper Flagg was the only Duke player in double figures today with his 24 points, and Evans was second with 9, followed by Proctor with 8 and Sion James with 7. So with that being said.
Go ahead, Jack. It's the Olympics. Who's the gold medal go to tonight?
I think it's fairly obvious. The gold medal for this game is Cooper Flagg. I think he was everywhere. As I just said, he scored by far the most points for this team. I think it's clear he gets the gold. The silver medal.
Hold on. Just stay there for a second. I do want to say there is something. We know he can jump. We know he can. His vertical leap is incredible. But there was that one shot when he started like maybe 2 feet in from the free throw line and attempted to dunk over
Haynes.
Over Haynes. And
all right.
I know.
All right. Next time, save it for after the segment. All right. Let me do the segment. Then you get your thoughts in, so we can have
All right.
Get
Silver medal goes to who?
That was our whole. This is what we talked about. All right. Silver medal. Well, we had a little bit of detour there. Silver medal. It's all right. Gold medal, pretty easy. Silver medal, a little bit more difficult today. I am going to go with Kama Malawach. I think he should have got more touches. It was there's a few guys in contention. I think there's about four or five guys who are in contention for silver and bronze. I think it's tough. You can certainly have arguments, but I'm going with Kama Malawach because I thought his defense was really good. He rebounded well. I think he should have got more touches around the rim. He was open, but I thought he did a good job knocking down his free throws, especially after he missed the first two. And my bronze medal today goes to, it's a tough call, but it's going to go to what would you call it? His running mate at the center position, Malik Brown, who I also thought played really well today. I thought he did a good job moving the ball, getting guys open, either with screens or passes, and then his defense, I mean, as always, was fantastic. Honorable mentions, certainly Isaiah Evans, Tyrese Proctor, Sion James, maybe even could throw Mason Gillis in there. But for right now, what I went with, gold, Cooper Flagg, silver, Kama Malawach, bronze, Malik Brown. Go ahead.
I'm not going to argue with it because I think through the process of elimination, you really wind up with a lot of the guys just not making it to they can't medal. They just can't tonight. But I do want to go back to Cooper Flagg's jumping ability. It is, I am sure there are plenty of players in the NBA that have, if I watched all 30 teams, it would be like, wow, that guy is just ridiculous. They used to refer to it as hang time. I don't know what to call Cooper Flagg. This is about the third time where he rises and you think he's at the apex of his jump. And then there's just another gear. So I just wanted to point that out. And the other thing is that the announcers made a couple of references to having had a chance to chat with Coach Shire about the offensive flow. And I don't know if he is freely admitting that, as you pointed out a couple of shows ago, it's pretty wide open. There are just not a lot of set plays on offense. And they're either so good and we haven't even realized what they are at their highest potential that they can play that way and make a long run during March Madness, potentially to the Final Four for certain, or against the entire SEC, where like everybody's going to make it into the tournament. You may need a couple of more set plays, and maybe John Shire should think about it.
Well, I would just say to that point, I think it's notable that the two times today our offense looked the best was in the first segment of the first half and the first segment of the second half. And the reason why I say that is because that's typically the time where you can have a player or two that you want to run. They had the nice alley-oop play that resulted in a foul to Cooper Flagg, their first offensive play of the game. It was still weird to me that wasn't a shooting foul, but I digress. And with that being said, outside of that, to your point, besides getting Isaiah Evans open for threes, which for whatever reason, as a team, they do a great job of setting off-ball screens, moving to leave openings, space for Isaiah Evans. The rest of the offense is, all right, Cooper, go make something happen.
So I was just going back in my notes. So in the first segment, at the beginning of the game, it was Flagg for a three-pointer. It was Proctor for a three-pointer, and it was Flagg for a two-pointer. And then in the first segment of the second half, it was just the Cooper Flagg show. I guess we're talking about potentially the number one pick in the draft. and therefore we're going to ride that horse as far as it'll take us. I just wish there was a little bit more of a true offensive flow. Um,
Well,
I worry about it.
yeah, I agree, but at the same time, sometimes results dictate opinions. And the reason I say that is because I feel like, especially in the beginning of this, like if Khan, for example, hits a couple of his open looks, does that kind of like make everyone else kind of like ease off the tension? Because I feel like, to borrow like a baseball like metaphor here, sometimes with like your lineup, right? If everyone's going up and they're just striking out or popping up, whatever, it starts to become contagious. And I feel like with basketball, it's especially so where, all right, this guy misses, now that guy misses. Now all of a sudden there's a lot more pressure when you go to shoot versus if other guys have hit a few shots, you start to be a little bit more loose. You're at home, you feel a little bit better. I think there's some of that too. What I'm getting at is I don't think it's all coaching. I do think some of it is guys just aren't hitting open shots.
Okay. I was wondering where that was all leading, and that I agree with that. But if the flow of the game is to just let Cooper run with it, and maybe that was tonight's call. It's just because he clearly, as opposed to the games that we said he doesn't get up for unless he's playing against the highest level competition. Tonight, there is no question from the jump ball, he was going to score. And if, I don't know, he had 24 points based on the number of balls that rolled off the hoop, easily could have been in the 30s tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess to kind of just wrap up this segment here is that there was a play towards the end of the game, actually not just towards the end of the game. I think it was in the last minute of the second half, where they ran a Mal Flag pick and roll, and Flag hit him, and he ended up with free throws. And I was like, why can't we do that? More often. It's just, from last game, we thought they finally featured Malawach, and today it just wasn't the same. And I think that will help the offense as well, because then all of a sudden, guys are, maybe there's two guys going to Mal, and there's just more space on the perimeter.
It's so much right now running through Cooper Flag. Sion gives him stability in getting the ball across the court. And then the next thing you know, it's Flag at the top of the key.
Yes. Yeah. So, with that being said, a couple of things before we wrap up today's show. Right now, as we speak, Clemson is down 89-88 in overtime to South Carolina, and North Carolina lost to Florida. So there was a close game. So there's a couple of opportunities for ACC teams to get wins over the aforementioned SEC. And as of right now, it just went final. South Carolina beat Clemson. So as of right now, it looks like going into next week, Duke, and we don't know where they'll be ranked because it's going to be a tough game with Georgia Tech this Saturday, but they look to be the only ranked ACC team, which just seems absolutely crazy, but justified based off of how this year has started. Next point I just want to make real quickly, I want to give a shout out to a former Dookie, Jalen Blakes, who plays in about 20 minutes as we're recording live. He'll play at 10 o'clock tonight. He has been the point guard and the second leading scorer. I'm going to say that again. The second leading scorer, and I believe the leading assist man for Stanford Cardinal, who are 8-2. They haven't necessarily played the highest level of competition, but regardless, Jalen Blakes is averaging 16 points and 5.5 assists to go along with his stellar 2 steals per game. We know about his defense. shout out Jalen Blakes, who's taking advantage of a big opportunity with Stanford, and looking forward to seeing him later this year.
I think Jalen would have loved playing on this team.
Yeah, it's a great call.
He would have. I think he would have gone. Wait a minute. Everybody's playing defense at this level. This is great. This is fun. Everybody's trying to steal. Everyone's feet are moving. I think he would have absolutely had a great time here. But good for him.
Good for him. He obviously wouldn't have got the same amount of playing time. The one thing that's been notable watching him was Stanford, again, albeit against much lesser competition, he has been getting into the paint. He's getting a number of free throws per game. I think over 5 free throws per game. It's the one thing Duke has struggled with this year from their guards, is having guys being able to, penetrate and dish. He's been doing a great job for Stanford. Obviously, he wouldn't have had the same opportunity for Duke, but just a big shout out to Mr. Blakes with the Cardinal over there. Anything you want to say before we wrap up here?
I think I'm good. I want to say that in Talking Ball Network, look forward to my piece coming up in a couple of days on Zion Williamson. A lot of talk about him being traded, but I want to talk about his path to the NBA. And it's all about the sneaker.
That should be fun.
We'll save that for a separate segment.
And if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can be sure to get that once we release it. Please like this video. Leave a comment below. We want to hear from you. And we will see you guys probably Thursday. We'll be doing the preview for the Georgia Tech game, which is going to be a noon tip-off this Saturday. Should be a good game. It's a feisty Georgia Tech team that beat Duke last year. And I think they're a good team. I don't know exactly where they're at injuries-wise, but we'll have more information on that this Thursday. And we'll see you